The earliest reference found to a garden at Chatsworth House is in a letter written 1560 by Bess of Hardwick. This was 8 years after she and her husband, Sir William Cavendish, had begun to build the first house here. Food for the house was produced in the gardens. Large areas of land were given over to deer, and the river used for fishing. But only small areas were used as a traditional Tudor garden. A large greenhouse was built to grow lemons, oranges and myrtle plants. By the late 1600s, William Cavendish, the first Duke of Devonshire, began rebuilding the house and gardens in grand style, and formal gardens were created, a vast amount of money being spent on shrubs and trees. Following years then brought a return to a more natural landscape, with many statues being erected. But then the fourth Duke arrived and made sweeping changes. New stables, the bridge over the river, and the new mill were built. Capability Brown was brought in to again remodel the gardens. The river was diverted to make the aspect from the house more pleasing, also at the same time removing parts of Enser village that could be seen from the house. The whole project was immense, costing over £40,000 and involving 25,000 days of work by men and horses. Despite poor health, Capability went on to create over 100 landscape parks throughout the country. In 1811, the sixth Duke, William Spencer Cavendish, inherited Chatsworth alongside another 8 houses and 200,000 acres of land. He was passionate about gardens, especially so after he met Joseph Paxton, who totally inspired him. Paxton was only 23, but the Duke was so impressed by him he immediately appointed him head gardener. Expeditions were sent around the world to collect more trees and plants, usually led by Chatsworth gardeners, until 2 of them were drowned in the Columbia River, having crossed Canada and the Rockies. New conservatories were built in readiness, using new technology and materials introduced by the Industrial Revolution. People had visited Chatsworth before this time, but now with the advent of the railways, numbers reached 80,000 in 1849. But what of the present day? Over 700,000 now visit annually, many never going beyond the house and shop. What a treat they miss. A large expanse of lawn meets the eye, now kept immaculate by the gardeners, but formerly home to deer, until they were excluded in the early 19th century, living now in the wider parkland. The canal pond was first built in 1702 and did have a fountain, but it was only when Paxton came to Chatsworth and used his engineering skills to create a new record-breaking gravity-fed fountain that it reached the proportions of today. All because the sixth Duke wanted to show off to the Tsar of Russia, who was supposed to visit. He never did, but the fountain was still named after him. An especially beautiful area is that of the grotto. It was built in 1798 for Georgina, the wife of the 5th Duke. In front lies what was once an ancient fish pond. This area was once part of Sherwood Forest. Rock gardens were becoming very popular around the 1840s, but not so massive as this one. Paxton invented a steam-powered lift to move and place the giant boulders, but over the years they became unsafe and partially covered by vegetation. In 2002, massive work was undertaken, this time using modern machinery, to reposition many of the rocks after setting some of them into a concrete base. It took 5 men and machinery 3 months to complete the work. It had taken Paxton 6 years, but this did include the whole rock garden. On this site there has been a pond since 1692. The beech hedge surrounding it was planted in 1953, at the same time as the serpentine beech hedge, which was inspired by the crinkle-crankle wall at Hopton Hall. There has always been a kitchen garden at Chatsworth until 1946, when it was finally abandoned. But in 1991 it started a new lease of life. The whole area was rejuvenated, and it now supplies the house and restaurant with vegetables and flowers. The Devonshire Rotary Diamond was presented by the Rotary Clubs of Derbyshire to celebrate the diamond wedding anniversary of the 11th Duke and Duchess in 2001. The best known feature in the gardens is the cascade. It was first built in 1696, but has been extended and renovated many times. Slabs coming down the cascade are all different sizes and groupings, the idea being that the sound of water varies. After a delightful afternoon spent wandering around the gardens, there is still one place to visit, but quite a bit of effort is needed, up a long winding path past the aqueduct until you reach 400 feet. The hunting tower is finally reached. This was completed in 1582 for Bess of Hardwick, used by ladies to watch hounds hunting in the park below, now converted as a holiday home. The view was mainly obscured by the trees. As the garden has changed over the years, so has the number of gardeners. Today a team of 20 work with the Duke and Duchess to maintain these gardens for our enjoyment and enhance the revenue of Chatsworth House.